the Xperia 1 Mark V is out, but does that mean the Xperia 1 Mark IV is not worth picking up? So after a year goes by, that's a good time for a lot of folks to buy a new phone. And this one right here, well, it cost about $1,599 in the US whenever it first came out. So yeah, that's a pretty spicy meatball for anybody. It's not a cheap phone. Well, the Xperia 1 Mark V is available for pre-order now, and I can't even get the one I ordered until July 28th here in the States. Like, it comes out in the States later, but it had me thinking, because I'm going to have to go back and use this one here soon, is there any merit to picking up an Xperia 1 Mark IV a year later? And I think that there is. Now, there are a couple exceptions here. Mostly one is just the heat issues that I experienced this last year. Now, whenever you're in lower temperatures, when it's not over like 85, 90 degrees Fahrenheit outside, if you're not standing out in the sunshine with the extended exposure, there's a lot of different things you can do to try and make it where the heat's not as big a factor. And some folks report not even having heat issues. So, I know that there are systemically a problem with this, and that was one of the big things they addressed with the Xperia 1 Mark V, which I'm actually recording with right now. So I had a lot of folks that were like, hey, I'm curious what the video looks like. So I thought I'd record this entire video with my Xperia 1 Mark V, and I've got my Shure external microphone hooked up to it. So we'll see how this pans out. But yeah, the Xperia 1 Mark IV, also, you can get it in purple. I know for some people like me, that's a big selling point. But, so here's the thing. The camera on it is still good. Now, there is the new sensor in the Xperia 1 Mark V, also some updates with that, and also some computational photography stuff that they added in. I think as a point-and-shoot camera, for folks who don't want to do manual mode, who don't want to like take control over their own shots, which is a really important reason to buy one of these phones, the Xperia 1 Mark V offers better point-and-shoot capabilities. Now, the Xperia 1 Mark IV certainly does take some decent photos, and if you know how to take photos with a phone or with a camera, and you learn how to use the phone, then you can take some really, really, really good shots with this. So, I mean, this was the best phone that Sony made as of last year. So even this year, you can get it probably a little less than $1,000. I was looking on Amazon the other day, and it looked like it was about $899. You can probably find it cheaper than that if you go through Swappa, if you go through eBay, if you try and find a renewed one, refurbished, whatever. But under $1,000, I think there's still some merit to this phone. I mean, the new Xperia 1 Mark V is $1,399. So either way you look at it, neither one of them are cheap phones. But basically, to get this for about 45% off after 1 year can be really alluring. And this is still one of the best gaming phones in the world. And you've got your pass-through battery charging as well. Sorry, I had to unlock it. So you have your pass-through charging as well. So if you want to play this game and if heat might be a factor for you, well, you don't have to worry about that if you play it while it's connected to a power source, because it bypasses the battery. If you play games on this and you don't have the Sony apparatus, now there's a Sony little docking cradle you can get for it. I can't remember the name. It's not very cheap either. It's less than $200. But if you get it, you can plug in a LAN cable, you can plug in headphones, you can plug in power sources, like all sorts of crazy things you can do to give you a competitive edge in mobile gaming. So this is actually rated as one of the best mobile gaming phones that you can get, which is surprising. And also you can do live streaming straight from this to YouTube on your games. How many phones can do that, right? So, and you can do, of course, the same with the video. And you can use it as an external monitor. You can use an external monitor for your camera. There's a lot of neat things that you can do with this phone that you can do with the Mark V as well. But if you don't want to spend that kind of money, if you want to get the Xperia Mark IV, yeah, especially for photography, the heating issues aren't really so much related to photography, it's for video. So if you don't care about shooting a lot of video, the camera setup on here is still really good. It has the same selfie camera as the Mark V, the same ultra wide, the same telephoto. So the only real difference camera-wise is that new sensor they have, which is a 52 megapixel sensor in the Mark V, and it does some pixel binning now down to 12 megapixels because it crops and uses 48 megapixels of the sensor. So it's just a weird way they did it, but it takes some really good photos. So, but yeah, if you just care about the selfie, if you want the telephoto, if you want the really cool continuous zoom stuff, which is really nice, then yeah, there are some compelling reasons to still pick up our Mark IV. Now, again, the asterisk I put next to it is for the heat-related issues, like day-to-day stuff, not really any problems. And it gets decent battery life. I think it'll get most people through the day. The Xperia 1 Mark V gets a little bit better battery life, maybe about 20% from what I found so far. And a lot of that has to do with that new Snapdragon 8 Generation 2. The Snapdragon 8 Generation 1 that's in here is a very powerful chipset. and it'll power everything that you want to do on the phone. It's an excellent flagship caliber level phone. It's just the heat related issues. So if you for your GPS, it'll get really hot. For shooting video, it'll get hot. For playing games, especially for an extended period of time. Like if you try and play a game of like say Fortnite or Apex Legends, 15 minutes into it, this thing is like a raging inferno. Unless you're playing it connected to a power source, and then you don't have that issue. So, and that's kind of important too. Like most people who play mobile games, I don't want to put the air quotes, but air quotes is because most people do it from a static position. You're not doing it riding in a car somewhere. I mean, people that take esports seriously take mobile esports pretty seriously too. So you're likely connected to a power source somewhere, and that's what enables you to do that. And there are not a lot of phones that do that. Like the Asus Republic of Gaming does the pass-through charging, so does the S23 Ultra, if I remember correctly, but not a lot of phones do that. And you also got a 4K screen, 4K, 120 hertz. There's no facial recognition, which doesn't really hurt my feelings, but it has the fingerprint sensor built into the power button, which I absolutely love. And then it's got pretty good speakers on it. The new Xperia 1 Mark V has better speakers, but the ones on here are no slouch. And this one has the time of flight sensor and also has the LED notification light that a lot of people are upset they took away with the Mark V as well. So from a photo perspective, it still takes great photos. From a video perspective, it still takes great video. It's just one of those things where you're going to have, like if you're shooting extended video clips or if it's going to be really hot outside, you might have some issues. Now, it was recently about 75, 77 degrees here, and it was a nice cloudy, overcast day, and I shot video on and off for an hour. Never felt it warm up at all. So there have been some updates. Like there have been some software updates. Of course, a lot of it probably has to do with throttling and the way that they prioritize the cores for processing and recording things. But the heat has gotten better. It's gotten way better than it has last year. So I do give them some kudos there. So there's some credit that it has gotten better. But like I said, it's not the Xperia 1 Mark V. Everything from the heat related stuff, from my experience, has gotten fixed in the Xperia 1 Mark V. But that doesn't mean this one can't still be a good phone for some people. And this was my favorite phone of last year. So much so that that's why I really wanted the Xperia 1 Mark V. Even though this is a review unit that they sent me, I'm spending $13.99 in my own money to buy it because I really like the phone, and it's the phone that I want to carry around as my daily driver. Even though I have an S23 Ultra, and I have a lot of other nice phones too. So I like the Xperia phones. They are more of a financial investment than most phones are, especially ones that are a year or 2 years old. I first got into my Sony Xperia phone with the 1 Mark III, absolutely loved it. And it sold me on the phones, and I got the Mark IV, and then now I'm going to have the Mark V once mine finally shows up. But overall, you still get a lot of great features. There's a lot of life left in it. The other thing too, from a software update perspective, it's going to get one more operating system update. So they get 2 versions of operating system updates, 3 years of security patches. This one's already gone from Android 12 to Android 13. But the Android 13 experience has been really nice and seamless. A lot of people ask, it's basically stock bare bones Android. And that's nice because it doesn't have all the extra stuff on there. A lot of people don't like the quote unquote bloatware that Samsung installs that a lot of people don't like. And it's a pretty clean experience. Like Sony doesn't put a lot in here to really bog it down or to make it unenjoyable. So Android 13 has been strong. Haptic feedback is good for typing on here. And I love the form factor. You can get a lot of cases, a lot of accessories pretty cheap for it too. And yeah, I think that there's still a strong case to be made for this phone. Like understanding the heat issues that I've had and that other people have had, that's the only real con as far as this phone goes. Because other than that, it's a fantastic phone, and that only shows up mostly in video. So that's all I got. Going to wrap this one up. I just wanted to talk about it because, well, some people like to get the phones a year after they've been out or right before the new ones come out because there's a lot of sales, a lot of deals, a lot of people getting rid of them. And that makes them a lot more financially accessible than the original $1,599, right? So that's all I got. If you have any questions or comments, please go down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, if you found this helpful, if you thought it was good, because this is shot on the Xperia 1 Mark V selfie camera in 4K, then please sound off in the comment section. Love to know what y'all think about it. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys next time.